D'Angelo's album Voodoo is a masterpiece, and one of my favorite tracks off the album is the song Chicken Grease, because it's super funky and it has a very unique rhythmic feel. I've analyzed and extracted the grooves of the individual instruments and applied them to a set of simple Apple loops. Can you hear how much better the chicken grease version sounds? In this video, I'm going to show you how the chicken grease version works and how you can apply its rhythmic feel to your own music to make your tracks groove harder. Let's get started. So to really understand this groove, we have to look at rhythms on a micro level. I'm talking about 64th notes or smaller. These elements of groove happen so quickly that it's hard to consciously perceive them in real time. For example, if you're playing with a live band, you don't have time to think about how you're going to play a 64th note behind the drummer or a 1/28th note ahead of the bass. You have to know what the feel of the groove is that you're going for beforehand and how it fits in with the instruments around you. It's all about feel. But luckily, when you're dealing with pre-recorded audio and MIDI, we have fancy software that allows us to slow things down and modify grooves in whatever way we'd like. So using this fancy software, in this case Logic, I've analyzed the micro-rhythmic nuances of the individual instruments in Chicken Grease and have created what I like to call a groove blueprint. A groove blueprint is an approximation of the essential elements of groove for each instrument. These essential elements are 16th note swing, whether the instrument's playing ahead or behind the beat, the duration of each note that is being played, and the tone of the instrument. So let's take a look at these elements for the song Chicken Grease. All right, so I'm going to show you what we're looking at here. We have two measures from Chicken Grease. I have the instruments divided out here. I have the stems, drums, bass, guitar 1, guitar 2, and vocals. So we're going to go through each one of those and take a look at what these groove blueprints look like. So first off, we got drums, and we have measure 1 here, measure 2 right here. So beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, measure 2, beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Each one of these ticks is a 32nd note. So every 2 ticks is a 16th note. So that's good for reference there. I'm going to play the beat for you. First, I'm just going to start by highlighting we have a 2/4. We got snare and a clap on 2/4, and there's a sort of a flamming effect between the snare and the clap. The clap is generally a little behind the snare, but it varies from beat to beat. Sometimes it's a 64th note behind, sometimes it's a 32nd note. So for example, if we look here on beat 4, we can see that this transient right here is the clap, and it's almost a 32nd note behind. So it's somewhere in there, and it varies. It's nice. It adds a little depth to the pocket on 2 and 4. Next thing I want to highlight is that we have a pretty much straight 8th rhythm on the hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's pretty straight, pretty close to the grid. The bass drum is playing 16th notes, and those 16th notes are swung. So if we take a look at this first 16th note here, this would be where the of beat 2 would be if it was a straight rhythm, and this one's almost a 32nd behind, a little bit earlier than 32nd behind. So it's between a 64th and 32nd note behind, which is around a 70% 16th note swing. So that's the basic groove of the drums. It's pretty much on the beat with a 70% 16th note swing. I might add the bass in, so Pino, classic Pino on this album playing behind the beat. All right, so if we look here, we can see that Pino this is the downbeat of beat 2, is playing almost a 32nd note behind the beat. And he sort of maintains that distance the whole time. So his part is between a 32nd note and a 64th note behind the beat, and the swing ratio is actually slightly less than the drums. It's probably around 65%. He's playing pretty short staccato notes too, which is important for this groove. And his tone is like rolled off. He has very little high frequency information coming through on the bass. This is going to be similar with the other guitar parts as well. So we're going to bring in the first guitar, playing a very similar part to the bass. Slight counterpoint, so filling in some of the gaps, but very similar. This part is not as far back as the bass, so if we look at the downbeat of beat 1, we can see it's right here is kind of where we're looking. We're about a 64th note behind the beat. So a little bit ahead of the drums, but still pretty, sorry, a little bit ahead of the bass, but about a 64th note behind the drums. And it has a very similar swing percentage to the bass, probably around 65%. The last guitar here is the classic chicken grease guitar, playing like all the 16th notes. Same thing, around a 65% swing. This one's a little bit more driving, so it's ahead of the bass and the guitar. It's a little bit closer to where the drums are. And so it's sort of pushing the rhythm forward, but also filling in kind of that glue between the bass that's laying way back and the drums that are on top of the beat. It's kind of filling in that space a little bit and making that pocket more cohesive. I'm going to show you what the vocals sound like here. In general, D'Angelo is usually singing really far behind the beat, usually back with the bass or sometimes behind the bass, so up to about a 32nd note behind. That's pretty common for the entire album of Voodoo. So next I created MIDI groove templates for all of these instruments. This is the drum groove template MIDI track that I made. If I play it along with the drum part, they're going to line up pretty exactly. And this MIDI part's just a piano because that's the random software instrument that was loaded when I brought it in. All right, so I took that MIDI track and I made a groove template. The way that you do that in Logic, you can go to Inspector, you go to Quantize, so you have, and then I go all the way down and I can click Make Groove Template, and you can see after you make this template, and if I go back in here, you'll see Chicken Grease Drums Template. So that's the name of that region, and it's right here. And now if I go to a new track, so for example, I pulled in an Apple loop right here called Lazy Sunday Beat, and if I go up to Quantize, I can select the Chicken Grease Drums template, and it's going to change this groove to fit with that template. Since some of these instruments are playing so far behind the beat, I had to modify the MIDI tracks to line up with the beat so that they could be transferred to new tracks. So for example, the bass part is playing sometimes up to a 32nd note behind the beat. And Logic gets really confused when you're trying to apply something with that much drag on it to another track. It gets mixed up and doesn't know how to apply it. So what I did is I took the bass part, for example, and once I've created this MIDI blueprint, I shifted everything forward to line up with the beat so that you can transfer it easier to your own tracks, and then you have to manually offset that new beat backwards so it's actually sitting where it needs to sit. So here's the drum Apple loop with the MIDI groove template applied to it. Now I'm going to add the bass. So with the bass part and the guitar parts, like I said before, since the Logic won't allow you to use a groove template that's really delayed because it doesn't know what to do with it, I had to shift everything forward to make it work in the MIDI groove template, and I applied that MIDI groove template to this bass part and then had to shift it back to its original distance that it was in Chicken Grease. So if you look here, you can see that I've delayed the bass part by almost a 32nd note so that it is back where it needs to be for this groove. All right. Same concepts apply for the guitar parts. So I have this funk steady rhythm piece right here. And this is guitar 1 template has been applied to both of these. And as you can see, I offset them as well. So right here, you can see that they're delayed by about a 64th note. All right, so after I applied the guitar 1 template, then I had to offset them to make sure that they sit exactly where they need to in the groove. And then I have the guitar 3 right here. Same thing. applied the groove template, and then just slid it back a hair because it is the most forward of all the guitar parts. And now you got a pretty nice feeling groove. So download the groove templates I've attached below, try them out in your own music, and let me know how it goes in the comments. If you need more assistance on how to use these groove templates, check out this video here. If you'd like to see another groove analysis of a song off of the Voodoo album, check out this video here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed the video, so please like and subscribe and share with a friend. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.